First of all, thank you to everyone who attended the first ever Oasis forum that we held last year. I found it encouraging, inspiring, and useful to hear from local people across our different communities. And if I can summarize what we heard into four different buckets, these will be inclusion, young people, communication, and prioritizing mental health and well-being. And you spoke, we listened, we actively listened, and we started to take action. And I'm aware that there's great amount of work that you are already involved in across our local communities, but we will now hear from members of the Oasis UK leadership team to talk about some of the work that they have already started as a response to the forum. And we will hear from members of the hub councils with further ideas to accelerate the work that has already started. And I'm also excited to announce that we have a date for the next Oasis Forum, which will take place on the 31st of March 2022 this year. And I hope to see you all there.
Jill Rowe and I, Jill's going to speak after me, wanted to just take this opportunity on behalf of the wider leadership team to tell you about some of the things that we've been doing as a staff team to respond to those four issues. There's plenty more to do. This is not an exhaustive list, but hopefully this gives you a flavour of some of the things we've been doing. So around mental health and wellbeing, which is obviously such a critical issue over the last couple of years in our hubs around the country. First of all, we've agreed some new significant funding that's going to allow us to provide some more targeted mental health work across our academies in the coming year. Our safeguarding leads and our community teams have been doing hours and hours of support to young people on a day in, day out basis across the last couple of years. We've just started a new pilot in one of our hubs, which is a therapeutic and psychologically informed approach to support of students in primary schools and their families. We hope to roll that out across some of our other hubs around the country. For our staff teams, we've been putting in place opportunities and spaces and resources to pause and reflect and consider their health and well-being through the year. We've also looked at the entire pace of the organisation. We've been operating at probably emergency pace over the last couple of years as we've been responding to the COVID pandemic. We've got to find a way of operating at a sustainable pace that works for the long term. And so I've been thinking through what are the practical things we need to do together as a staff team to operate at a more sustainable pace as we emerge from the pandemic. And finally, we've been thinking about clinical supervision. Clinical supervision is space for our staff teams to consider how their job, their frontline job, impacts them. We've rolled clinical supervision out to some of our staff teams and are looking at a model for thinking how we can do that much further into the future. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavour. In terms of communications, I think we've probably made slightly more incremental steps across the last year. I hope you've experienced the great information and communication that Esther does to our hub councils around the country. Probably the biggest thing we've done though is we've appointed a new role. We've only just done that. We've appointed a community movement lead. And Andrew Smith, who some of you may know was previously our hub leader in Oldham, has taken on that new role. It's really exciting. He's only just stepped into the role, but Andrew's job is going to be to help us think together as a movement. How can we take action together better? How can we make change in our communities? And importantly, how can we communicate well with one another across our community movement? So watch this space for all the exciting stuff that Andrew's going to be doing in that new role over the coming year.
Hi, it's great to speak with you. Since we held our forum last year, as a leadership team, we've been focusing on inclusion across the Oasis family. Inclusion's a core part of our ethos and what it means to be Oasis and the very identity of who we are as an organisation. We've been working hard on a whole range of things, committing serious amounts of time and energy, and I'd like to tell you about 6 specific things. Firstly, we've set up staff networks for our academy, community and housing teams around anti-racism, LGBTQ+, and gender equality. These groups enable staff to talk together, listen to, challenge one another, all to help make Oasis an even more inclusive organisations. The groups met through 2021 and the beginning of this year and are now feeding back to the core leadership teams. We've also appointed people to lead these networks and to hold us to account to ensure that the discussion is impacting our practice. Secondly, we've developed an anti-racism statement of intent and an action plan on behalf of the whole Oasis family. It commits us to make changes to culture and learning, becoming a more listening organisation, the way we communicate, our employment processes, our school curriculum, our general policy and practices and representation. And you can find a copy of it on the Oasis UK website. And we'll be assessing that work against the statement of intent on an annual basis to check how we're doing, and we'll feed back to you next year. Thirdly, we've been developing our next Break the Cycle conference, the fourth one. It's taking place in March this year and is entitled We Shall Overcome, which is inspired by the song that became the anthem of the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s as they battled against racial inequality. So Break the Cycle is our campaign committed to promoting Black and global majority leadership in education and youth work in the UK. And we're delighted that Baroness Valerie Amos is leading our debate on the next steps towards eradicating inequality in and through the education system. And again, you can find loads more on the Oasis UK website. Fourthly, we've successfully applied to become an inclusive apprenticeship provider. Our apprenticeship scheme will be truly inclusive and help grow a diverse group of people from our communities who can access training to become teaching assistants. And in time, we'd like to broaden this programme out so that we can offer inclusive initial teacher training too. And we hope that this model will be delivered around the country and can support our desire to see a diverse and representative educational workforce. Fifthly, we've developed a mode of staff training across the Oasis family known as a year of learning. And this year our focus is on deepening inclusion. And finally, there has been huge growth in our youth work during the year. It includes the new Navigators programme we've started in Greater Manchester, which is a team of youth workers who support the A&E departments of hospitals across the city. And their job is to offer mentoring and support to young people who've been the victims of violent crime. They've only been going a short while, but these staff are already doing an amazing job. And we're now beginning to offer in-depth youth work in many more of our hubs, which is completely invaluable given the impact of the COVID pandemic on young people's well-being and mental health. I'm sure we'll talk about that again at this year's forum. There's still loads more to do, but we hope you are inspired and excited by the progress that we have made against the issues that we all talked about at last year's forum. And thank you for all the support and the energy that you give to Oasis.
At the Oasis Forum, we discussed how we involve young people within our communities. We encourage our young people to give their ideas on plans that we make at Hub. We consider their input at equal level to all Hub members, raising their confidence and in turn supporting good mental health. At the forum, we discussed other ways to engage young people, awarding seats at our Hub Council meetings, enabling them a voice right up at the strategic level of planning. We now ask for their input when designing youth programmes via our newly established Youth Voice Committee. Some young people are also attending Youth Commission meetings led by Anne Longfield. Young people's mental health and well-being was raised at the forum, identifying the need for more information to be shared on the needs and requirements of those with SEND. We wanted to refocus on inclusion, enabling greater understanding throughout our communities. At Oldham, I am now the neurodiversity champion identifying what support needs to be given to young people with SEND to help them reach their full potential. We now have more access to training and courses in this area, and we share and develop our knowledge.
To really embrace inclusion in our hub councils, we need to make them as representative as possible of all our community members. That means including people from all types of different backgrounds, all types of different areas, such as community members, parents, local businesses and organisations, so that we have a wider community voice throughout the year. To do that, we need to think about how we can make our hub councils more accessible, removing the barriers of people joining. For example, think about where we meet, what times we meet, to make everybody part of that and included as possible. In relation to our hub councils, we need to make sure that we've got projects and events that are going on that everybody can get involved in. So those who are currently not involved can get involved in new projects, events and activities. We also need to think about and be alert in our everyday activities how sometimes our unintentional actions can make people feel excluded. For example, not saying hello or goodbye to somebody, not offering somebody a drink, not looking at someone when we are speaking to them. Oasis offer inclusion training, and we could attend those training sessions to have a better and deeper understanding of inclusion and to incorporate that in our hub councils. In relation to communication, we can better improve communication within our hub councils by always revisiting and reminding ourselves of the Oasis hub model and making sure that everybody understands that and how it works. We need to think about how we can stay connected between meetings. For example, set up a WhatsApp group, which is an easy and efficient way to stay connected with one another. We could reach out to different organisations within the community so we can work together with those different organisations. We can also reach out to different neighbouring Oasis hubs, find out what they're doing and connect with those as well.